It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Good love. I hope you're doing all right no matter where you are, where you're watching, where you're listening, all that happy stuff. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's for an authentic Italian meal. And speaking of St. Simon's, our next Billy C boxing event will be taking place on the island of St. Simon's. We want you to be there. It's going to be not one, not two, but 3 full days of activities. We're going to be holding a golf tournament. We're going to be doing a fishing tournament. We have a meet and greet with former world champions and some other celebrities, as well as crashing Sal's for dinner several nights. The package includes all access to everything I just said, including accommodations. Now, it's tentatively scheduled for 1 of 2 weeks. It's either the last week in August or the second week, the weekend of the Mexican holiday of September. I will get the exact dates ASAP, but in the meantime, keep in mind, this is an invitation. You need a ticket to get to this. I'm telling you, it's going to be the best event we've ever done. So you need to drop me an email if you're interested in being put on the list. The email, billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com. Right now, we have plenty of room, but space is limited. Make the plans. It's like a family vacation type thing if you want to do that. Or get a buddy and hang out, and you guys will love it. We're going to have a fight night, everything. Listen. Trust me when I tell you, it's well worth it. Drop me an email if you're interested. Billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com. And finally, today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage, The Baddest Man on the Planet. It's available right now where all good books are sold. And you can get a copy of this book right now where you're watching or listening to the show. Just visit BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. You want a signed copy? No problemo. Just go to the website and click on the book. If you want more than one copy, drop me an email, and I'll hook you up. Billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com. I keep saying it because you got to remember there's no G in talking. I get people going, man, I've been emailing you. Man, you never read my stuff. Well, guess what? You've been putting the wrong email, so somebody else is getting my emails. But anyway, coming up a little bit later, one of the main topics today, Floyd Mayweather has officially announced that he's going to begin training for MMA. I'll get to that in a little bit. Also, we got some updates on HBO and the Dillian White-Lucas Brown fight. I got some pretty cool comments from Jeff Horn concerning the cancellation or rescheduling of the Terrence Crawford date. I got an update on my man Vinny Paz, formerly known as Vinny Pazienza. We got a bunch of emails. We got all this stuff going on. But first, let me bring on my partner in crime, my man. Let me give him another minute. He's still got his feet up on the desk. As a matter of fact, I think he's in feety pajamas right now. No, he's ready. My man, Sal, Rocky, Senecola. What do you think? I was going to ramble on for a while or what?
Yeah, I thought you were going to ramble today. In the process, I was giving you a new facelift on my mug. Look at that. That's beautiful. Look at that. That's a brand new Billy C face mug. I just drew that.
Well, you know, what, you got another one?
I got another mug.
What'd you do with the old one?
I got several of these big mugs. But look at the drawing I did on this one. This is great, man.
Yeah. Well, hey, Sal is now officially in the mug business. So,
hey,
you know,
if
you want to get a mug, just reach out to Sal, you know. But
well, I don't know. Hey, there was a place called, I don't know where it was. I think it was in either Montauk or Cape May, New Jersey, called the Ugly Mug. And it's a nice little pub, nice little place to go get a bite of eating a burger and a drink and a beer. I didn't want to promote them.
Yeah, well, you always do. But
it was fascinating. You know what they would do? They'd have all their locals with their names on it on a mug, and it would be on the wall. And I think when some of the locals passed, they would turn the mug upside down in respect.
Well, that's nice. I mean, that's nice respect-wise.
It's nice respect-wise, yeah.
One of the main topics today, Floyd Mayweather, your favorite. He's, there's been a lot of rumors about him going to MMA and all of this stuff, and I laugh, because, the one thing, I mean, forget about Floyd's talent and everything else, but the one thing that I don't think even his best fans can argue, at least for the last decade, Floyd Mayweather has made every single thing when it comes to a fight that he's involved in. Everything is in his favor. He gets to pick the location. He gets to pick the opponent. He gets to pick the gloves. He gets to pick the I think he's even picking officials. He gets special treatment, et cetera, et cetera. And that was the case when he fought UFC star Conor McGregor.
It's called the competitive edge.
One of my big, it's a little further further than that. But one of my big hang-ups with the fight against Conor McGregor was that it actually was approved by that gutless, spineless piece of garbage out of Nevada State Athletic Commission, Bob Bennett, as a professional boxing fight. And therefore, it went on Floyd's official boxing record. So he, at the end of the night, he obtained his 50th win against a pro debut fighter in Conor McGregor. Well, since then, Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor both see that there's potential, lots and lots of money to be made if Floyd would do the same and cross over to MMA. I thought it was BS because the truth of the matter is Floyd, he doesn't engage in boxing. MMA is more of an engaging type of a sport, so therefore he would have to engage, something that he doesn't like to do. He's a pansy ass. He doesn't want to engage. He wants to run. Not to mention he's 40 years old, over 40 years old. But it was announced. But it was announced yesterday that Floyd Mayweather has confirmed that he will begin training for MMA. He's already been training, but he's now going to be training with former UFC welterweight champion Tyron Woodley, and he would be considered obviously a novice at first. But here's the thing. He said that he's planning on, it's going to take him 6 months to prepare for an MMA bout, but he most likely won't be facing Conor McGregor because he feels he won't be ready for Conor McGregor in his first one. I mean, come on. Why can't this guy even try to be even playing field when he goes on somebody else's turf? Now, he needs preparation. This is my whole point about this guy. I mean, yes, I actually give him a hell of a lot of credit for even trying this out, but the truth of the matter is Conor McGregor made his pro debut against Floyd Mayweather. Why can't Floyd Mayweather make his pro debut in MMA against Conor McGregor?
Well, it's a good point. I mean, I do respect him for even trying MMA. And whether it's just some promotion or rhetoric right now, we'll see if it comes to fruition, if he actually does step in the arena, and against who. But, I think what you're suggesting makes a lot of sense, calling it an even playing field. Conor McGregor had no right being in the same ring with the stellar Floyd Mayweather at the making his professional boxing debut. That should never have even been allowed or even considered. Henceforth, your buddy Bennett in Nevada. But the bottom line is, for Floyd to suggest that he's going to cross over into the MMA arena, and yet he's not ready for Conor McGregor. Yeah, it does seem a little bit, well, we don't have to call it what it is. It is.
I just find it kind of comical that a guy like Floyd Mayweather, and how he's been constantly fleecing his best fans. I mean, that's the joke of it all. He fleeces his own most loyal fans, and once again, he's doing it. Now, here's the thing. Everybody wonders why, because let's face it, Floyd doesn't have anything to prove anywhere.
No, he doesn't.
If I'm Floyd Mayweather, Sal, with the money that he should have, all right? Now, I know he hasn't paid his taxes for the McGregor fight yet, and he's probably it's going to be a vicious cycle how he owes tons and tons of tax money, and every so often he's going to have to fight to raise the money. I mean, I still don't think he's the sharpest tool in the shed. I really don't. I don't give him all the credit for his money maneuvering. I have to believe there's somebody with a little bit of brains behind him that he actually listens to. But with all that said, he claims that he could make $1 billion from a UFC deal. Now, whether that means that he's got several fights that he has to do to make that billion or whatever, you could pretty much see why the guy is doing it. I mean, Floyd's all about the money. He didn't change his nickname from Pretty Boy Floyd to Money Mayweather for nothing. And I think that it's time to put that in perspective. He's more of an entertainer in terms of WWE entertainment versus a boxer. It curdles my stomach to talk about him when we were talking about all the all-time greats as much as we do on this show. Like yesterday when we talked about Archie Moore. How can you compare the accomplishments of Mayweather to a guy like Archie Moore? You just can't.
Well, it's really a different era, and it's different shock appeal and different, our ancient Archie Moore, who fought up into the later years. I mean, this guy was a warrior. I mean, over 150 fights. I mean, the guy back then, and they would fight anybody at any time and any place. It didn't matter. They were there for the prize because it was called prize fighting. They supported their families with these purses. They had the greatness of the world title that they can own, and they were the only one recognized as that world champion. Henceforth, what do we got? 5-10 champions per weight class today. So it was a big deal, and these guys put it out there every time they stepped in the ring. And they stepped in the ring not once a year, not twice a year. They stepped in the ring if almost monthly, and sometimes even more or less. But the bottom line is, yeah, that was the era of boxing that signifies where we are in the reputation and credibility and everything else that followed afterwards. It should pay tribute to those generations beforehand, because that's what's kept this sport great. That's what's kept this sport with the integrity and the fan base, and it's continuing, and it should continue. I promote or I agree that Floyd Mayweather is a marketing genius, and he's a talented fighter, and he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, as we suggest. But to do things on this level, like I said, he's a marketing genius, and this is why he is making money. This is what he's doing to make money. And that's why his nickname is Money Mayweather.
Exactly. And, if anybody...
It's all about it.
Well, if anybody has any doubts about that, all they got to do is look at this. But, hey, we'll see what happens. The one thing I will say...
I wish him luck, because I'll tell you what, Bill, I give him a lot of credit. At 40-something years of age, going into the MMA arena, even if he's going to go against, as we suggest, an average opponent, it's still, it's crossing over. It's doing what he's doing. I give him a lot of credit.
You just, believe it or not, you just took the words right out of my mouth. I too am giving him credit because, for 20 some odd years, this is a man who made a career out of avoiding engaging with his opponent. I mean, I call him a runner. And his fights, I can't remember one that was exciting. Maybe the Corrales fight. I don't know, but I don't remember one. I can't think of any. When I close my eyes and think of Floyd Mayweather, I can't think of any entertaining fights. There's so many other fighters that I can just, somebody throw a name. I do this all the time. You throw a name out. You close your eyes, have somebody throw a name out there, and all of a sudden these images of these great matches come to your mind. And yet with Floyd, only other things come to mind. But with all that said, I too give him a lot of credit, and I honestly do, for moving over to the MMA, because it's unlike anything he's done for 20 some odd years. He is going to have to engage, and it's going to be interesting to see. Now, I just hope that he and listen, the one thing about Floyd Mayweather is Floyd Mayweather prepares himself as best he can for anything he does. So with that said, I'm sure that a lot of the next 6 months of his, learning and being taught MMA or whatever the case is, and for all, hey, listen, knowing Floyd Mayweather, this is a guy that's been working in MMA for a long time already, getting ready. I mean, now he's just publicizing that he's going to do it, so people are going to think that he's only got 6 months under his belt. He's probably been doing it for the last year, but nonetheless, for a guy that's going to have to work on his ground game as well as his foot game, kicks and stuff. He's going to have to improve there. He can't possibly be thinking in his pea brain that he is going to be successful with just the hand game, throwing punches. So I'm assuming he's going to do it and do it as best he can, Sal.
Yes, I agree. And when you look at the arena of the actual sport and how the fights take place, I mean, look at it this way. 90% of those fights end with one guy counted out or something like that. Is that fair to say? I'm not even sure.
What's the question?
I'm sorry?
What's the question?
I said, isn't it roughly maybe 75 to 90% of these fighters get counted out or
you're talking about tapping out?
Yeah. So I think to even face the fire where there's going to be a clear winner and one that taps out or is knocked out or is counted out or is unable to continue, I mean, I give him a lot of credit on that. In fact, I'm going to say this. We don't have any dates. We don't have anything that's set, and we don't have anything signed, and it's not delivered yet. But, I'll be surprised, to see when this first fight may be coming about. I really would. And, we'll see if it comes to fruition. But I do give him a lot of credit right now.
Yeah, we got a guy. See, since we have that super chat, I'm not going to give him that much of a shout out. But we got a guy in one of the chat rooms. I'm not going to say. I just hinted where, who says Mayweather will knock anybody out in UFC. That's so funny, Sal. The guy can't even knock anybody out in boxing, and he's going to go knock people out in UFC.
Yeah, but you know what? I'll tell you what, Bill. Here's the whole thing. My our good friend John Mosayunas, he always said, Sal, you would have been stellar at the sport because of my wrestling background and my jiu-jitsu and other things that I incorporated. And the ground game is going to be something that I'm sure Floyd is going to have to work on, because when you're on the mat and you're looking for the positions to have your arms free to strike, yet you're also controlling where you are. I mean, it's a lot of wrestling, it's a lot of jiu-jitsu, it's a lot of things that you incorporate, and these are new skills, I think, to Floyd. He is an athlete. Let's give him that benefit of doubt. The guy is an athletic guy, and I'm sure he's got great coordination and other skills that'll give him the foundation that he needs to learn these things. And I'm excited to see that. I mean, I like to see this take place.
Well, we'll see. I'm not so sure I want to see it, but I think we may. And I tell you this right now: I will not pay a nickel for Mayweather in UFC. It will not pay a nickel for it. So if anybody,
but do you know how smart this is? Listen to what you just said. You are not going to pay a nickel. And do you know the fan base of the whatever sport it's called right now? Yeah, UFC. Do you know the fan base that are going to come in sports to see this fight. To see Floyd,
of course.
Because I mean that's what's so unique. And Floyd does have his boxing fans, and they're going to follow him to the end of the earth.
Well, then he's got people like me who may I may be going against my own rule and buy it just in hopes that he gets his leg broken or something.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Hey, and that was the thing that whether you loved Muhammad Ali, which I did, or you disliked Muhammad Ali, you had to see him fight because you wanted to either see him get humbled and knocked out, or you wanted to see his stellar performance and the athlete that he was, and perform at his top level. So it is, and that's what I'm saying. Floyd Mayweather is a marketing genius. It's unique. He's going to get all the UFC fans, and he's going to get his fans. This could be a big thing. And I don't know.
Listen. I give him credit. He's going to do the best he can. Because that's the way Floyd is, and it is what it is. Listen, we're going to take a short break.
One thing is, though, I would give him more credit if he faced Conor McGregor his first fight.
Of course, that's what he won't. He won't do that because he's, he won't have the edge then. He's going to face Conor maybe and eventually, but hey, we got to take a break. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
Similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace? Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C Show. Glad you could be with us. Who's us? Well, I'm sitting here right now with my man Sal Rocky Senicola. And we just gave you our thoughts on some news that popped out about Floyd Mayweather officially making a jump over to MMA and UFC in about 6 months. But he has said that he will not make his debut against Conor McGregor, which is unlike what he forced Conor McGregor to do. But anyway, moving on, because you guys know how much I love the guy. But a friend of ours, which I know you're close with, and I'm maybe not as close as you are, but I've talked to him many, many times. He's been on the show many times. And I love his style, always have, in and out of the ring, to be honest with you. Vinny Pazienza, more commonly known now as Vinny Paz, was, well, if you recall, a couple of months ago, he was charged with an assault, a felony assault, back in January, when he allegedly bit a guy and then knocked his teeth out after he accused this particular guy of stealing $16,000 from him. Vinny Pazienza has said that it wasn't true, that he was innocent, blah, 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 blah. And he said that he was indeed the victim. Not sure whatever happened with that, but in a more recent police issue, yesterday in Rhode Island, Vinny Pazienza pleaded no contest to an assault charge in which he assaulted his girlfriend. Apparently, police were called to their home at 3 a.m. Several weeks ago, and they found his girlfriend barricaded in a bathroom. When they took her out, she had been assaulted, injuries to her face, etc., etc. She ended up being put on a stretcher in an ambulance to the police for treatment. They also thought that alcohol was a major contributor to it. Vinny Paz pleaded no contest, but after that, he walked away, said nothing happened, I'm innocent, and that was that. I hope Vinny straightens his act out, because the last thing a guy wants, especially at our age now, and Vinny's the same age as us, Sal, he doesn't want to be bothering with the cops and this kind of stuff. If alcohol is the root of it, well, maybe he should stop alcohol. I mean, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, I like to get the facts before I really expand on this, but to see what it is, because Vinny, I talk to him every once in a while, and I like to invite him down here for some of our events, and we've talked about it in the past, and we'd probably have a great time, but I know how we feel about guys that have to get out of hand with women. It's not really a good thing, so. Right. I don't like it, but we'll see what happens. I hope everything comes out that it was just an event, or not an event, something that happened in a drunken stupor, and that nobody was injured, nobody was hurt. Well,
if it was an isolated incident, if this was the first one, you could say, hey, it happened, you know what happens. But it's the second one this year, and not only that, it's happened in the past. So he's a wild man. Vinny Paz is a wild man, especially when he has a few drinks. And some things will never change. I mean, his personality is actually pretty parallel to his style in the ring, don't you think?
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, Vinny and I, we came up together in the pro ranks, and we would roommate together at the training camps. And I mean, he was the one, he would always push the envelope, and I would go so far. But, the little voice inside my head said, Sal, that's something you really shouldn't do. But he didn't have that. There were no, he would take it the whole leg. I mean, he would do so many wild things. I mean, we were running. I told you this story one time. We were running on a golf course, the Americana Great Gorge Resort, doing our morning road work, and we would spar hundreds of rounds together during a session of a camp. And this is when Lou Duva had all of us up there. Roberto Duran was there. We'd spar with Duran, with Evander Holyfield. It was a great training center, great. So Vinny and I are out running the golf course one morning, and we come across this bunch of geese. And like Rocky Balboa chasing a chicken. We decide to try and chase these geese. And boom, Vinny tackles one, picks him up by his feet. We bring him back to our hotel room, and we try to put him in a box. And the thing gets out. He's flying all over the room. We're having to do whatever we could to get him outside. And it was crazy. But, I mean, those are the antics. Those are things. Yeah, we're like a bunch of teenage kids at that time. But yeah, he's got the personality that will push the envelope, and that's that's just a lot of what you just, as a young adult, you sometimes outgrow and you learn. But alcohol does come into play and does a lot of things that alter your judgment and your actions, and maybe this is the case that would happen in this incident.
Hey, that's one thing Floyd Mayweather never does. No, wait, time out. He gets in trouble for beating up women because that's about the only type of people he can knock out. But he does stay in shape, and I've never heard of him getting drunk or high on drugs or anything. So I mean, from that respect, that's why he's still even in the discussion if you think about it. I mean, it's because he takes care of himself, But in any event, some other news I wanted to talk about. I picked up some funny stuff actually about the Crawford Jeff Horn thing. First and foremost, Jeff Horn obviously is as they would say in England, gutted, even though he's from the land down under, that the fight has been rescheduled. They're possibly looking as soon as May 19th. But Crawford, Horn says, hey, Crawford supporters said he's so good that he can beat me with one hand. Why doesn't he give it a try? And, because he wants to. And I love that. I think that that's so good, because when you hear all the BS all the time, I can kick his butt. I don't have to fight him. Jeff Horn likes to, made a play on exactly what they're talking about. And I love it. So I don't know if that's really Jeff Horn or if it's someone else doing the writing for him. But either way, I love it. What do you think?
I think it's a great statement. I think it's a great statement. There's also somebody else I know who fought with one hand, but we won't go into that. The bottom line is, I think that I'm interested in seeing this fight. And when Jeff Horn defeated Manny Pacquiao, I said at that time that Jeff Horn is not a world beater, but he brought something to that table that night, and he brought the fight to Manny, and he had the power, I thought, to really land some of the telling blows that helped win him that fight. And I don't know if this is a great fight for Terence Crawford because of Jeff Horn's style, and because of also moving up to a legitimate welterweight division. And Jeff Horn is not a small welterweight either.
No, and his style, his style, right? I mean, but hey, listen. Crawford is he's got the defense and he's engaging. He'll engage with you. Crawford's a real deal. I love watching Terence Crawford fight. He's exciting.
He is the real deal. What you just said, bingo.
Well, he's exciting, Sal, don't you think?
Yeah. I think he's exciting. I think he stays in the pockets. He knows how to slip the punch. He knows how to stay in position to deliver a punch. And, when you see a fighter engage like that, that's something. Now, he didn't, he's won his bouts a lot of times with the accumulation of the blows that he will deliver because he's that precise in his punching and the way he delivers them. He does not have that one punch knockout power that he certainly thinks he's going to carry up to the welterweight division. And I think it's not an easy fight for Jeff Horn to for Crawford to step into the welterweight ring with Jeff Horn. It's not going to be an easy fight for him.
Well, not for the first one at that weight class, that's for sure.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think Jeff Horn is more than a formidable foe and maybe more than what Crawford could bite off. It's going to be an interesting fight.
Another thing on the Jeff Horn, or I should say Terence Crawford-Jeff Horn fight, Now, we knew that we were going to get to watch it. A lot of people weren't sure if it was going to be on pay-per-view or whatever. Remember yesterday we were talking about ESPN adding a new channel that's going to be kicking off, I believe, in a couple of weeks. And that Top Rank signed a deal where they added 12 more major boxing events to that lineup. And it's called ESPN Plus. And I guess it's a streaming package, and you have to pay an extra $4.99 a month to have it. But as of now, it's not really available, or it's not included for free in any current cable or satellite package. At least that's what's being reported. So it's still kind of up in the air. They haven't really defined whether the Crawford-Horn fight will take place only on the new ESPN network, ESPN Plus, or if it's going to be, in addition to. So I guess we're going to have to wait to see about that, but that would kind of suck. Listen, I'm all for streaming, but it's not 100% foolproof yet. A lot of things depend on the quality, like your own internet service. But, hey, Sal, hold that thought. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, Sal will comment on that, and I got a bunch of other stuff, including an update on HBO.
Billy C will be right back.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now to get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
Similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Hologram USA presents a proposal to all investors. Hologram USA is an innovative three-dimensional patented technology that shifted the paradigm in media technology. Our patented hologram technology that brought you Tupac and Coachella, Whitney Houston, Billie Holiday, and many more is integrating live performances to bring your favorite past and present entertainers beyond your imagination. Invest in the patented technology before the banks scoop up all the stock. Invest in Hologram USA today. Hologram USA Flagship Theater, located on Hollywood Boulevard's Walk of Fame, is the first of many to come. Call now to be part of the explosive growth. Pick up the phone. Dial the number on your screen now. Invest in Hologram USA today. Call the number on your screen right now to learn about this investment opportunity.
Call 800-624-1673. 800-624-1673.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there.
Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C, damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. We got some stuff to talk about, including an update on HBO, Sal. HBO. Now, we were talking about HBO. They're clearly losing the battle with Showtime. I mean, it was apparent last year, and they picked up right where they left off this year, in the cellar. I'm talking about HBO. And meanwhile, Showtime is trying to put together the much better fights. Well, HBO, there was a lot of rumor that they were going to really actively go after Anthony Joshua and signed a multi-fight deal with him. There's some stipulations in there. I guess Anthony Joshua's deal with Eddie Hearn is coming to an end, and that might have to be renewed first. And Eddie Hearn had said Showtime supported AJ when no one else would, et cetera, et cetera. But I had a strong belief that HBO would be a player in the AJ sweepstakes. Well, I think they may have taken a move to that end, Sal, because it was announced yesterday that HBO has picked up the television and broadcast rights for the fight between Dillian White and Lucas Brown, which is taking place next weekend. It's going to be live at 6 p.m. Eastern Time and then replayed again that night at 10 p.m. This is a pretty good matchup between these two guys. HBO is picking White because he's an Eddie Hearn guy. Maybe they're trying to pave the way for a deal with Anthony Joshua. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, that's possible. I think that would also be something that they're going to be bidding for with an Anthony Joshua in the future. They always have, and I think lure him in or try to keep a contender that maybe one of the opponents of Anthony Joshua. I think that's a pretty smart way to go.
Now, speaking of Dillian White and Lucas Brown. I like the matchup. I mean, Lucas Brown, former WBA regular world heavyweight champion. I love that. He did beat Ruslan Chagayev. And, the funny thing is years ago, maybe 10 years ago, Ruslan Chagayev might have been the best heavyweight out there. But by the time Lucas Brown beat him in 2016, he was a shell of himself and had been the beneficiary for some shenanigans in Russia. But he did get a win over him. He beat Andriy Rudenko in a fight. Richard Towers was an up-and-coming guy that he beat. James Toney under his belt as a win. Travis Walker, which, Lucas Brown has beaten some guys. Now, Dillian White, and by the way, Lucas Brown as a heavyweight is ranked at number 15 in the world by the computer. He's 6'5". Dillian White 6'4", ranked at number 9. The funny thing about him is the biggest name on his resume, if you don't look at some of the up and coming guys like David Allen and Ian Lewison, the biggest name on his resume aside from his loss against AJ was Derek Chisora. I mean, you give him credit for beating Brian Minto, who was just a tough guy, and Robert Helenas is nothing like he used to be. So I think it's a pretty evenly matched fight. So I'm looking forward to this one next week. Sal, what do you think?
Oh gosh, me too. I think it. Like I said, I think we have continued in 2018, right where 2017 left off. We're going to have some great fights, and I think the forum that they're going to be in and everything else, and the promotion and enthusiasm is going to signify another stellar year in 2018 of boxing.
We got some emails. Let's get them out of the way, and then we'll break down the big fights for this weekend. Jesse says, Hey, Billy C., I got Ramirez winning a split decision over Amir Rahman in a hard-fought fight. Alexander Godzik in a late stoppage over Mehdi Amir. And I got Sammy Valentin over Roberto Arizara. What's your thoughts on that bout? You know, Sammy Valentin, I have a personal connection to. I love his mother and father.
The guy we met in
yeah,
Florida, right?
and Sammy's such a great kid. He made a big mistake with the route that he took, but I'm glad to see he's back up on his horse. I really didn't evaluate this fight. I'm always so biased towards Sammy, so my thoughts is that it's an important fight for both of these young fighters. So Arizzi is a good fighter too. So we'll see what happens. He says Jamal James is scheduled to fight Abel Ramos. Is that a stay busy fight? By definition, but you never know. As a fighter, you can never take an opponent lightly. Especially when it's defined as a so-called stay busy fight, but for that opponent, it's in his mind, it's a title fight, so you're always going to see the best guy. Stay busy fights are the most dangerous. I'll never forget watching. It's funny, I forgot the guy's name, but I'll never forget watching. He was a top 10 guy. It was on ESPN, and he was just battering his opponent. And he goes back to the corner, and they had it on ESPN. This was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and he says. This is easy, and the corner actually said, "Listen, don't knock him out yet. We need to get some rounds in. Let's work on this. Let's work on that." Now this is the main event of an ESPN card with a win has implications to moving on. And next thing you know, the guy gets stopped. He gets knocked out, and he just vanished from contendership. You never take a fight lightly. No. There's no reason. If a corner is telling their guy, hey, toy with him, let's just get in a few rounds, that's the worst advice I would ever want to hear from a corner man. Because you know what? Getting work, getting rounds, that's what you're doing in sparring. When the bell rings for a real fight, get it over with. Don't mess around. You never know what's going to happen. Right, Sal?
You're absolutely right. And I remember, there was a fight that, I had with Richie Giacchetti. He was in my corner, and there was against a contender from the Carolinas or so. And, I had a good opening round, and Richie, said, Sal, don't take any chances. Just get this guy out of here right now if you can. And that's it. And I went out the next round and knocked him out. Just like you said, you can never leave that void open. You've got to be able to slam the door at any time that you have the opportunity to do so. Because you never know what's in, like I said, any given night, a fighter can have a rough night or have their stellar fight of their life. And you don't want to take the chances if you are in contention for a championship or anything else. You just don't want to take those chances. You want to make sure you're out there to seek and destroy and do what you got to do to win at all costs.
He says, Billy, I saw some of Ramirez Amir press conference, and Don King can still talk some trash for a guy his age, but then again, so does Bob Arum, which, listen, whether you like Bob Arum or Don King or not, you got to give them both credit. These guys have been not just involved in the sport of boxing, but at the top of the sport of boxing for a half a century almost. So it's not common. Trust me. He says Jesse Magladano against Dogbo is a tough call, and it's a tough fight for both those guys. Yeah, you know what? I'm not breaking that down. When I did my show in Vegas for a week one time. Thanks for the email, Jess. I did my show in Vegas for a week one time at Mandalay Bay, and we had a great time. And I got a chance to meet the Magladano brothers. And Jesse was such an impressive kid at the time, and I wish him all the best. Again, some of these guys that I really know personally, it's hard to root against them. It is what it is. My man Joel says Thursday night, yesterday, Facebook streamed a GYM group, Yvonne Michelle, their casino series from Casino Montreal. This is about the fourth time they use Facebook platform to air their smaller events. It's live, it's free, something I can always tune into and watch. I remember you always saying that streaming online was the way to go for either the right price or for free. And in a majority of these cases, a lot of these cards are streamed for free. I've noticed several promotions in MMA and boxing using Facebook and YouTube platforms nowadays to show their events live, usually for free. I'm happy to see this, as I am sure you are. I love Fight TV as well, because they charge for their events. The prices are reasonable, and the events that they charge are also very intriguing. Do you think other promoters or maybe international promoters will use these platforms to show their events to the American audience who may have interest in seeing a card and have no other way of seeing it unless it's on Facebook or YouTube? What's your guys' thoughts on the future? Listen, I said this 10 years ago. The truth of the matter is you see, boxing is filled with greed, and the people involved in it, most of them are greedy. So when streaming became an option, there were some websites that decided to bring all these club show level fights to you, but they wanted to charge you. It did not work. We knew it wasn't going to work because it wasn't the amount of money that people were paying for pay-per-views. It was the fact that they had to pay for them. The best way to go and to reach the audiences, the size of audience that the potential you can reach with streaming, the way to go is free. You make it for free. Then you make your money selling advertising once you create a track record of how many views, how many countries you're being seen in, et cetera, et cetera. Now you can go and sell advertising. It's what we used to call network television. I said this, I used those exact words years ago. Streaming today is basically what network television was in 20, 30 years ago. Everybody else now has, a plethora of channels available to them, et cetera, et cetera. We should save the big fights for the premium cable networks, or now even ESPN in their new model, and regular free TV for the not so great TVs matchups, and then all the club shows should be free on streaming. That's my thoughts, Sal.
Well, I think it's a nice formula, and I think it'll bring more world-class boxing into the living rooms, and people go through the path of least obstruction. And you know what? If you can turn on your TV without having to search and do this, do that, purchase that, this, everything else, you're going to have it at your disposal and easily at hand. And, you're going to pick up more of a fan base.
We got another email. This one's from my man Johnston. He says, hey, good morning, guys. British heavyweight Joe Juggernaut Joyce is 2-0 with 2 knockouts. He's back in action against Donnie Palmer on Saturday on terrestrial television. The Olympic silver medalist is returning to the Mecca of British boxing. Your call. It's my dream to do a show there. From his first round knockout over Rudik Jazic last month, the 32-year-old is currently ranked at number 12 in the UK and 158 in the world, considering he's only had 2 professional fights. He's mustered up 9 rounds of boxing, and his opponent's combined record is 16-4-1. Heavyweights today are huge, but there are not many fighters that will tower over Joyce, who stands 6'6". But this Saturday, he gives away 4-inch advantage against an American opponent who stands 6'10". With only 11 fights to his name in 6 years, Palmer has boxed 33 rounds and ranked 247 in the world. To be perfectly honest, this is nothing more than a stay-active fight for Joyce, who should win comfortably before moving on to bigger challenges in May, possibly against Derek Chisora on the Hey Bellew 2 undercard. You could check out. Well, he says, just curious. I know it's early days, but how far do you see Joyce go? Does the well-decorated amateur have a realistic chance of becoming a world champion? In today's world, yeah. You could check out the whole article that Johnston wrote. He put it up on BillyCBoxing.com, so check it out. Another email from Jonathan Daly. My man from the UK. He's on how easy it is for you to access this, but here's an interview with AJ where he reiterates exactly what Sal said a couple of days ago. When he goes into fights, he gives it his all. He's not afraid to lose, which prevents him from underperforming. It's funny. He sent me a link to this video, and so did my man Willie, too. Willie caught it, too. It's a great video. AJ, Sal, does an impression of Deontay Wilder doing Bomb Squad and calling himself out and all this stuff. It's funny as hell. It's a great video. But, there's some serious points about it, too. And you're going to love this. The guy doing the interview asked him, he says, what's the most important piece of equipment that you need for boxing? He says, what's the one thing that you can't do without in the sport of boxing? What is it? What's your most important thing in the sport of boxing? What do you think Anthony Joshua said?
Probably his ring generalship, his intelligence, and his mind and his heart.
Let's see. Is it his ring generalship? Is it his intelligence? Is it his mind and his heart? Sal just said 9,000 things. Is that correct?
No, they're all one and the same.
Wrong. You know what he said, Sal? He said the most important thing he needs is a trainer. Talk about a guy who's grounded. I think that's a great statement for a guy for a guy who's accomplished like him. A lot of fighters, when they get to a level, especially when they're a world champion, all of a sudden they feel they don't need a trainer. But here AJ says he does. What's your thoughts?
Well, of course. And, let me tell you, a good trainer is like your soul brother. I mean, you have confidence, and this is the guy that will help bring out your best. This is the guy that will be in your corner to see things that you may not be able to see in an opponent. And this is the guy that's going to help you play the game of chess while you're out there boxing. And this is the guy that's going to have a vested interest, but your best interest at heart too. And, I've had great relationships with certain trainers in my life, including Richie Giacchetti, Don Turner, Johnny Torres, and these guys were like brothers, or like another father to me at that time. And I had confidence in them; they had confidence in me. And when you enter the ring of battle, you almost feel that's why fighters often say, "Oh, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that." I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, but you feel you're connected, and you got a team that you're there, and they're there for you. And so you almost feel like, hey, we're all one and the same. So we're going to do this, so we're going to do that. And so, it's funny. But, yeah, a good relationship with a trainer is so valuable that it's everything. It means a lot.
My point was I thought it was really cool that he gave the accolades.
That he's so grounded at this level.
Right. My man Willie, who said that, he also sent another animal. He says, hey, Billy C., I just had to send you this link. It's an inspiration. This guy, Donnie Palmer. This is the same guy that was just referred to. He's fighting over in England. He's 6'10". He's got a master's degree. He's been shot. He had a bullet that went right through his stomach and out his butt by his sister's boyfriend, who previously shot his sister's boyfriend. The same guy shot his sister. I'm saying he was back in the ring after he got shot because he didn't want to lose his rankings. It's an amazing story. He was out 6 months. He wanted he's fighting Joe Joyce this weekend. He says, I hope he does well. I don't know what he's talking about because he was calling out. He was also calling out Joshua. He says, I'm going to take care of Joyce, then I want Anthony Joshua. He's 6'10". He's 34 years old. He's 9-1. He's 8 knockouts, and he's got a draw too. 9-1-1 with 8 knockouts. 33 rounds as a pro. Ranked in the high 200s. This guy's fought nobody. He's not ready for Anthony Joshua. Should he get by Joe Joyce, maybe his next step up would be a guy like Triple D, Daniel Dubois. But I love how these young fighters immediately call out the big dogs after they win a couple of fights. Everybody's looking for a fast track to a payday, and it's kind of sad. But
of course they are. Right. That's the model they're copying right now. They see some fighters who obviously do deserve it and have a pedigree and also had a stellar amateur career, or maybe some just great accomplishments in the ring at their young age.
Next email is from my man Mitch. Mitch says, well, Billy C., of course, Canelo is all of a sudden passing all his tests. Oscar is blowing the trumpets on it, saying that he's clean, he's this, he's that. Of course, it's called damage control, boys and girls. He says, here's a couple of things they missed, and it has me wondering if it was really on the up and up. He says, number one, we found out that Canelo's trainer is actually a butcher and handles all the food prep for Camp Canelo. So he should know what kinds of meat to get and how to avoid the tainted meat, right? And I would say right. He says, when fighters go away to camp, they take a team with them, sparring partners, trainers, strength and conditioning guys, coaches, and whoever else. The sparring partners usually have their own quarters. However, the main residents reside. The fighter, trainer, chef, strength conditioning, etc. all kind of reside together. Even if they don't all live in the same place, they certainly will eat together as the chef cooks for everyone. And this is true. He says, in this case, Canelo's trainer is the butcher and probably the chef. So, guess what I'm thinking, Billy C. and Sal? How come they don't just test the people who eat with Canelo during camp? Then they would really see if he was eating contaminated meat. That's a good point, my man, Mitch. That's a good point. And he goes like this. He says, by the way, he says, American meat contains tren in it, T-R-E-N, which is trenbolone acetate. He says it's stronger than testosterone, but how come no Americans have been popped using it? He says, I'm just saying. And I've always found it hard to believe that you would test positive for something that you ate. I mean, the levels have to be so high. I mean, he says also with HBO and picking up the Dillian White against Lucas Brown fight, it looks like they will up the ante to get AJ. Maybe HBO is back. Some good points by my man Mitch, Sal.
Mitch always has some good points. I'll tell you, the guy's into the game. He knows what he's talking about, and I always appreciate what Mitch has to say.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Okay, my man Luke, I got a couple more here, man. We're trying to break down these fights. I'll give you guys a heads up right now for all the radio affiliates and TV affiliates. We're not going to take a break here at the top of the hour. I know it's costing me, but hey, we got to do. Sometimes you got to take a hit, Sal. This one from Luke Thunder Breslin. He says, "Hey guys, I saw this news story a few weeks ago and it caught my eye." And it seems, the story, I'm looking at the link. The story was Jermell Charlo, who got robbed recently. He says, it seems the night of the Wilder fight, Charlo proceeded to go to a rather famous nightclub in New York City. Well, it also seems that about 3 a.m, he proceeded to get into a bit of an argument with somebody, which engaged in which ended in a physical altercation. Whilst this was going on, a group of people stole his bag, which had over $155,000 bucks in cash and a lot of jewelry in it. I had read that it was somewhere around $300,000 total.
Jeez.
He says, now this is terrible. No one should have their property stolen, but it raises quite a cautionary tale for me. First thing I thought and felt was disappointment. While Jamal has had a 10-year career, and 3 years of it he's been a world champion, he and his brother are starting to really come to prominence. I asked myself, why did a 27-year-old even have a bag with that much money in it in a nightclub at 3 a.m. on a Sunday? This is a cautionary tale as far as I'm concerned. Too often do we see young boxers that start earning this money and way too fast. 155,000 cash is a lot of money for anyone to lose, and I do feel sorry for Charlo, but we must remember this sport is littered with fighters, etc., that have blown their money and got nothing to show for it. Also brings me back to everyone's favorite boxer and role model, Floyd Mayweather. Now, one thing we can't argue is Floyd has money, but the one thing that we can also say is Floyd likes to throw his money around. One of the most degrading things I ever seen him do was set fire to a $100 bill in the middle of a dance club floor, but one of the saddest things I've ever seen him do, and bearing in mind this is a 40-year-old man who is the father of 4, throwing dollar bills at what are essentially strippers, probably younger than the age of 20. Let me straighten something out about that episode. It was all over the internet and everything else about Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather does not burn his own money. Floyd Mayweather is money hungry. He named himself money. He's taken a huge risk by fighting in the MMA arena, but he's all doing it for the money. Floyd prides himself on the money. The money that you see him lighting on fire and tossing around at strippers and stuff at these nightclubs, he was actually paid for that particular case that Luke is talking about. He was actually paid to come to the nightclub and be seen there. So some of the money that he was paid to do that for, he basically had them give him money so he could do that. That was part of the deal. Floyd's very money conscious, so he's not going to be burning his money. Maybe he does a little. I mean, to him, what's a $100 bill? I don't know. But that particular video that Luke is talking to is that. But anyway, he says, it's a worrying trend. After what the idiot was Adrian Broner flushing money down the toilet. Remember that one? He says it's a worrying trend after watching him fight at the weekend. I'm now quite a fan of Progress, but a scan of his Instagram feed, I found a video of him in a nightclub after a victory throwing hundreds of dollars in the air. Whether that was self-deprecating and a bit of a joke, I don't know, but it's not something that's pleasant to me. Floyd is gone. Let's stop the over-the-top playboy behavior. It's hard, the worst thing you can do as a young person is all of a sudden have that much money because you don't realize, just look at Mike Tyson and even Evander Holyfield. Both of them made, when they were active, they both made $400 million in the ring throughout their careers, and both of them ended up going bankrupt. You hear that tale over and over and over about it. It's just the same thing with other athletes. They're making $10 million a year, and all of a sudden they're broke. It's because when the money stops coming in, their lifestyle doesn't change, and they go through it pretty quickly. So, I agree.
Correct.
Yeah. He says, I'm not saying have a good time and enjoy yourself, but please stop putting footage out there of you throwing your money in a nightclub or buying the most expensive jewelry, then 5 years later telling everyone you have to keep fighting because you're broke. And the other thing is they always blame everyone else, too. He stole my money. He did this. Hopefully some of these young fighters I've listed have got good financial advisors around them. I hope so, too. He says, I also wanted to add that I'm going on a 2-week holiday with my family soon, decided for a spot of reading, so I've made a purchase of your book. All right. Tom Molyneux from Bondage to Best Friend on the Planet. He says, on the UK version of Amazon, it's a very reasonable price. UK fans can get buying because there's only a few left on site. Well, we could always hook them up with more. So he says, I'm hungry to learn about the greatest sport in the world. So I was wondering if you and Sal and any other listeners could recommend some reads for me. If you don't want to plug the books on the show, don't worry about it. Listen, there's a lot of great books to read on the sport of boxing. Definitely the one that I keep plugging. It's called the Rise and Fall, the Arc of Boxing, the Rise and Fall of the Sweet Science. It's written by Mike Silver. It's not a captivating book, but it's very, very informative. There's a new one out, Rocky Graziano. We're going to have the author of that book coming on. James Curl wrote a couple of great books. One that's out right now. Is worth the read. It's on former heavyweight champ, and he was also the New Jersey boxing commissioner, Jersey Joe Walcott. As a matter of fact, for our next Billy C event, we're going to have the grandson of Jersey Joe at the event. So there's a lot of great books, man. I would pick up anyone that's based on history. Don't you think, Sal?
I think it's great. Yes, absolutely. I think it's a good target, good way to really bring some history back into the future.
Yeah, I mean, the truth of the matter is any true book that's based on the historical aspect of the game is worth its weight. So,
absolutely.
One last email. Along those lines, it looks like this is my man Chase. He says, hey, Billy C, I'm going to keep this question short because I like to hear as many responses to all the other questions as possible. Would you take a prime Jack Dempsey or a prime Jack Johnson? Love the show. Great question. Great question. They're two different fighters. Jack Johnson, one of my all-time favorite fighters, was probably one of the greatest fighters that ever lived. But the knock on Jack Johnson was the lack of excitement. He was actually compared to as a guy I don't particularly care for, Floyd Mayweather. Their styles were very similar. Jack Johnson fought very cautiously. You couldn't hit him. And he had a tendency to toy with his opponents. Unfortunately, he fought in the early 1900s, so you don't get a clear indication of how good and how fast he was with the video footage that's out there right now. You have to kind of rely on, articles that were written. But the thing I really love about Jack Johnson was that he was during a time in the United States that we call it the Jim Crow America, where African Americans were just not getting treated anywhere close to equal like they should have been. And he represented, hey, I'm just like anybody else. He didn't want any special treatment, but he didn't want any less than ordinary treatment either. And I respect that for a guy at that time. But as far as excitement, Jack Dempsey was an exciting fighter. And, I think Jack Johnson was more talented in the sweet science, but Jack Dempsey was an exciting fighter. He was a guy that would go and destroy people. He didn't care about defense or the sweet science or anything like that. So it's kind of a loaded question. All around skill, Jack Johnson. But for entertainment value and, the viciousness, Jack Dempsey. What's your thoughts on those two?
Well, I'll tell you, because they were some of the grandfathers of what made the sport popular then, and makes the sport still reflective of what it's evolved from. And Jack Johnson was a stellar icon. I mean, this guy had all the talent and all the ability to reign as a heavyweight champion, and he did it like you suggested during an era where it was definitely something that he made a statement, and I think kudos and all the others to him, because this guy was when he entered the ring, he wanted nothing more than to leave the ring as a victorious winner, and he did more times than not. And Jack Johnson was a stellar champion and a good human being who conducted himself in a way that he just wanted something on an even playing field, and he got it. And I gave him all my hats off and credit to him. Now, Jack Dempsey, he was just a relentless. He brought the ferocity into the ring with him, and he was just as you suggested, excitement personified. He would look to do at all means anything he could do to tear the head off his opponent or to win at all costs. And he didn't think about his own safety. He didn't think about his own. He didn't mind engaging. He didn't mind getting hit. And this guy just put it all on the line every time. So they were both unique specimens of fighters, and they both had their attributes. And boy, I'll tell you, we maybe we should put those two into the magic boxing machine and see what happens.
Yeah, that's a good one. Why don't you request it? Send an email to the Big Cheese.
That would be a very good contest, and it would be a great contrast in styles. And I'll be surprised. I think it would be a good ebb and flow.
Got some fights this weekend I want to break down and give you my predictions on. First and foremost, it's only going to be, actually, I'm only looking at two, I think, that I'm going to be doing. The one on ESPN. There are some other fights that, let's see, am I breaking down two or three? No, looks like two. There are some other fights, but the two good ones are the one on ESPN tomorrow night. Now, don't get me wrong, Telemundo has Hurricane Sammy Valentin on tonight. But the ones we're going to look at are the ESPN ones. First and foremost, the light heavyweight matchup between Midir Amar and Oleksandr Godzvik. And this is for an interim WBC light heavyweight belt, which cracks me up. This is the second interim belt that we're hearing about from the WBC this week. And the funny thing about it is they swore that they don't have interim belts anymore. What happened to their silver belt? Are they actually trying to weasel more? Nobody has more belts than these four major sanctions. I've never seen they could hold up the pants of 100,000 nations with all these friggin' belts they got, Sal. It's a joke, but
it is.
Oleksandr Godzvik is ranked number 6 in the world at light heavyweight. He's 30 years old, 6'2". He's living now in California, but he's out of the Ukraine. His nickname, The Nail. I like that. When you look at this guy's resume, his last 5 fights were all against good opposition, starting in 2016 against Muhammad Ali. He stopped him in 2 rounds. Muhammad Ali was 37-4 when he stepped in the ring. He fought Tommy Karpinski. Karpinski's not a household name, but he was a tough fighter. Knocked him out in 6 of his scheduled 10-rounder. Isaac Chilimba, a long-time staple in the division, knocked him out in 8 of a scheduled 10-round fight. Chilimba at that time was 24-4-1. Yuniesky Gonzalez, that's right, the same Gonzalez that got himself some more notoriety recently. He knocked him out in the 3rd round of a scheduled 10-round fight. Wow. Back last year in April, about a year ago. And in his last fight, August of last year, he fought a once-beaten Craig Baker, who he knocked out in 6 rounds. So his last 5 fights all ending in knockout. Earlier in his career, he was brought up the right way, but he did seem to fight some other very experienced guys, like he fought Michael Jabenga in his second fight, and then again in like his 5th fight. Jabenga's a tough guy, went the distance with him twice. Fought Corey Cummings, who he knocked out. Corey Cummings is nothing special. Otis Griffin is a warrior. He knocked him out. I mean, this guy has been in with some good quality opposition from the get-go. He steps in the ring with Madir Amir, and he's from France. He's from France. Ranked 31 in the world at light heavyweight. It doesn't seem like, this guy should be fighting for any kind of a title. He's 35 years old. He mostly made his name, if you want to even give him that, as a super middleweight. He did fight Hasim Nadam back in 2008 and lost. For the most part, he didn't break into the light heavyweight division up until about 4 years ago, and since then he's been carefully moved. Coney Conrad was one of the top guys he fought, and he had a split decision draw with him. Really, I mean, like Suri Demenchenko, he fought twice back to back and beat him both times for the European light heavyweight champion. He fought Robert Stiglitz, which is probably the biggest name on his resume, and lost. In his last fight, he fought a 7-4 with a couple of draw guy and got a 8-round unanimous decision. Of his 34 wins, 16 are coming by knockout. He did lose 5 times, in which he was only stopped once. How do I think this fight's going to go? I don't think it's even going to be close. I think Godsvik is going to knock this guy out quickly. When you looked at Godsvik's names on his resume, Sal, he knocked out way better opposition than what he's facing tomorrow night. I like that we're getting to see this fight, but I don't think it's going to be very competitive. What's your thoughts?
No, I don't either. I think Godsvik is going to just continue on his locomotive forward drive, and I think he's going to stop Amir easily before the 5th round.
Before the 5th?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Do you think he's got any kind of a chance to stay away?
Amir?
No, we're not talking about Amir. We're talking about Ahmed, the other fight.
Oh yeah. No, I think he stay a little bit away, but I think in the end, you can run, but you can't hide, and I think he's going to be having to really stay away and try to avoid some of those big heavy shots.
And speaking of Amir,
I don't think he's going to be able to do it throughout the whole fight.
Oh, neither do I. Speaking of Amir, the next fight that we're going to be looking at right now is, and the last one I'm going to do is Amir Aman against Jose Carlos Ramirez. This is the main event. I love the fact that there's some stuff around this fight, and being, we have 2 classic, both Hall of Fame boxing promoters in Don King and Bob Arum that are behind these guys. Amir Aman actually has some roots close to where I broadcast live from here in Lake George, out of Albany, New York. Dax Khan actually is very well-versed and experienced with Amir Aman. They worked together in the gym early in Amir's career when he was an amateur. He's got some decent wins. He's ranked at number 63 in the world. In the welterweight division. Now, this fight happens to be in the junior welterweight division, and the WBC already has him ranked at number 1 in the WBC. But the computer, because his last fight was at welterweight, has him at number 63. When you look at, let me rephrase it. He was on a fast track, and he was exciting to watch. I mean, this is a guy who beat Yodinas Ugas, some experienced fighter like Sergio Perez. The Santos Benavides fight was a great fight that ended in a classic and exciting knockout, which put him on the map. He followed that up with wins over Fidel Maldonado Jr., Walter Castillo, and Fernando Angulo, all big wins, and really started his way up, and was knocking people out and was getting beat, and then would come back and knock him out. Exciting fighter. And then on the November 28th in 2015, he stepped in the ring with Adrian Granados. This was supposed to be that fight that was going to catapult him to a world title fight, and he got stopped. This was another fight. As a matter of fact, I think we were doing your fight that night. Is that the same day of your comeback fight, Sal? Was it November?
It may have very well been. It was my comeback fight was April 13th, 2013.
Okay, no.
Saturday night.
No, it wasn't that one. The April 13th. Yes, that was the fight that we all saw, the Benavidez fight, the Santos Benavidez. Myself and Eric Botcher and John were all watching that after your fight. It was a great fight. But anyway, he followed it up in 2015, his gateway to a world title shot against Adrian Granados. It was a back-and-forth fight. Amir Rahman apparently ran out of gas and was stopped in the 8th round. Now, since then, he's fought 3 times, once in 2016 and twice last year, all against very, very, very easy opposition. He knocked out Wilfredo Acuna, who was 16-19 in 3 of his scheduled 6. And in 2017, he fought Jose Vidal Soto, stopped him in 3. And Soto's record was 26-23-2. And in his last fight in November of last year, Johnny Garcia, 19-5-1, stopped him in 4, getting him in a position for yet another opportunity for a world title. This is for the vacant WBC junior welterweight title. Now he steps in with Jose Carlos Ramirez, who's ranked at junior welterweight, number 23 in the world by the computer. The WBC has him ranked at number 3, so they actually have Amir Rahman ranked ahead of him, even though Amir Rahman's last fight was at welterweight. When you look at Jose Carlos Ramirez's opponents, and by the way, he's 25, so they're very similar in age and height. They're both around the same size, 5'10". Their arm reach is similar. Amir Rahman actually has a 2-inch reach advantage, but he's more of a banger than a puncher. Ramirez's record 21-0, 16 by knockout, 73 rounds as a pro. Amir Rahman has got him beat by a little bit, 81 rounds. But when you look at Jose Carlos Ramirez, his last 8 opponents were all really good opponents. Robert Frankel, Yoshida, Johnny Garcia, the same Johnny Garcia, Manuel Perez, Tomas Mendez, Isuf Kinda, which was a good fight, Jake Curiasco, and his last fight was supposed to be a real big test. He fought Mike Yes Indeed Reed, who was undefeated at 23-0 in November of last year, and knocked the guy out in 2 rounds. Jose Carlos Ramirez is one of those Hispanic-type fighters that come at you and they want to exchange. That's exactly what Amir Rahman likes, too. This fight's not going to go the distance. It's not going to go the distance. It all depends on if Ramirez can handle Amir Rahman's power. He does have freakish power, and it's indicative when you look at his KO knockout percentage, 82%. Of his 21 fights, and Ramirez's 21 fights, he's got a 76%. But what does it all mean? Well, I tell you, I love Amir Rahman, but there's a reason why I'm going to pick Jose Carlos Ramirez. It's not because I like him better than Amir Rahman. I think Amir Rahman actually has the more powerful punch and could very well stop Ramirez. I think that the equalizer in this fight, and the reason why I'm going with Ramirez, but I think it's a truly 50-50 fight. The reason why I'm going with Jose Carlos Ramirez is because the advantage that Ramirez has on his side is Amir Rahman's trainer. Amir Rahman's trainer is Stacy McKinley. Stacy McKinley is this is a guy that doesn't even train his fighters. This is a guy that's a curse. Anybody, go and look in the classic fights that Stacy McKinley was the trainer for. Big name fights, big opportunity fights, and all the time his guys get knocked out. And the reason, or they lose. And the reason is Stacy McKinley is just not a good trainer. This is what Don King has left to work with. It's a shame. Amir Rahman, like I said, he's got some local connections with us here. But I listen, I'm going with who I think is going to win. I think Jose Carlos Ramirez has the better team around him. He's got the better promoter around him. And quite honestly, he's got more in his arsenal than Amir Aman. Amir Aman has a power punch and is still dangerous. I still think it's a 50-50 fight. Sal, Rocky, Santa Cola, how do you see this fight going?
I see this fight going just as you're laying out the foundation here. Amir Aman will have some good power that he can probably extend and deliver to Ramirez, but I think Ramirez does have a little bit more arsenal in his bag of tricks there, and he's got a decent pop, and I think that he's fought better opposition, so I think he has had a little more experience against better opposition, and I think he's going to rise to the occasion. I think it's going to be a good fight. But I think it's going to go to the later rounds. But I see Ramirez winning as well.
Well, I think either way, it's a 50-50 fight, and it's going to be a good one. So
yes, it is.
In any event, hey, listen, we have next week. We're going to be doing our blast from the past. Is going to be on Don King this time.
All right.
So
the Don of boxing.
Yeah. So this past week we did it on Bob Arum. So it's pretty cool that people are requesting that. I just want to comment on a couple of comments that are going on in the YouTube chat room. And by the way, we like the super chat. So anybody that wants a real shout out or whatever, go into super chat and hook us up. But but it had to do with taxes, and a lot of people are chiming in on it. Taxes for fighters are no different than us paying taxes. A fighter's income is the purse, and some of the people are commenting that they feel that fighters shouldn't have to pay income tax, which I don't agree with. I think what has to happen is fighters have to understand that they will owe income tax on their purses. And the smartest way to approach it so that they don't get hit with big bills at the end is to have their promoter responsible for withholding the taxes. And then this way they don't have to worry about it. Because the way that it's supposed to work is a promoter is obligated to send the fighter a 1099 at the end of the year, which a fighter is supposed to give to their accountant or use for their tax purposes, which determine how much money they will owe in income tax. The problem I see with fighters and taxes is they don't really know how to handle it. If they were smart, and I'm not an accountant, but I am a businessman, the truth of the matter is all the expenses that they have for that fight, the food they may be eating, the transportation they're taking, their gym costs, their trainer costs, etc., all are write-offs against that income. They use those things to perform and fight. A lot of these fighters don't even apply those expenses to their fight. And if you're not going to apply it, Uncle Sam is not going to give you the discount, and he's going to charge you. The longer they wait, the more interest and penalties accrue, etc., and they end up having trouble. The most horrific story of fighters owing money to taxes was Joe Louis. And the worst part about that was Joe Louis actually fought for free for the war effort, donated his whole purse to the effort, but yet Uncle Sam doesn't look at that as him just giving the money away. It's still his income that he chose to give away. And they hounded that man till the day he died for the tax money. And they kept accruing more and more penalties and interest, etc. It was a horrific thing. But my advice to fighters, Sal, and you're a businessman, everybody's got to pay taxes. Fighters are no different. That's why it's important. If you want to be a pro fighter, try and do it all the way. Which I mean by that is, try to become a fighter and be active enough where you can actually make a living at it in all aspects, rather than go work for, some place and then do boxing on the side. That's my recommendation. Well, what's your thoughts on fighters paying or not paying taxes?
No, well, they have to pay taxes. I mean, it's income. Let me tell you, let me break it down. And I'm not an accountant, and I may be off on my numbers, but I'm going to try and make it simple so I can understand. How's that? $100 or $100,000 or $1 million. It represents, there's just more zeros. So let's look at $100,000. Typically, you fight for a $100,000 purse. 10% of that $100,000 or $10,000 is going to go right off the top to the trainer. Okay? 33 and a third of that $100,000 is going to go to the manager. Then you have training expenses. You go away to the Poconos or the Catskills for 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks before a fight. You have a chef, as you do. You have sparring partners. You have housing. You have other things that are going to be added into the biscuit there. And so you're going to have thousands of dollars to write off or deduct and to pay for out of the purse for that expense. Then you're going to have other things that are going to come up. And by the way, Uncle Sam, when you make $100,000, is going to say, hey, 40% of that or 35 or whatever tax bracket you're in, we're going to carve out of that too. So all in all, the fighters are left with not $100,000, a lot less than $100,000. And what Billy was suggesting was, well, why doesn't the boxing commissioner or somebody keep that $1,000? I mean, take the taxes out of that they can mail to the government. This way, the have to worry about, well, I spent that money. How does the government say I owe them $33,000? I don't know how I do that. Where am I going to get it from? So it's a vicious cycle. And being a fighter and getting a 1099 from the organization that paid you $100,000, it might be in a fighter's best interest if they pay the government out of that purse before you take home the purse and distribute it the way it should be, allocate some money for tax.
No doubt. Hey, Sal, I don't mean to cut you off, but Alex is live here, getting himself all prettied up and stuff. But you know what? One other thing I want to add to that, Sal. You make a great point. All those expenses, the cuts that they're giving to the management and trainers and stuff like that, that's all considered an expense. Now, if the purse is $100,000, they're being taxed on $100,000. But that 33%, let's say, that they're going to pass along to someone else or that they're going to pay, now they have to write that off as they paid that trainer 30% or whatever it is. So they get to write that off, and it comes off that $1,000. Now the trainer has to pay. See, what I think happens a lot with these fighters is they don't use those write-offs, and then they end up with the tax burden on their own. And that so you got the other hands in the pocket, the trainer, the manager, the nutritionist, etc. They're getting their checks, but they're not paying taxes on that because the fighter didn't make the right deductions and claims. So it kind of screws the fighter twice.
It does. I think maybe a boxing commissioner of the state should maybe take those taxes out of there before they give the fighter the money that he's got to allocate accordingly.
Actually, the promoter, by definition, is responsible. Yes. The promoter is supposed to either deduct the tax or give them a 1099 at the end of the year. And sometimes, like, an opponent will come in and fight one time for a promoter, and it kind of gets shuffled under the rug. But anyway, Alex Papali is with us today.
Alex,
now.
good morning.
And
good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
I wanted to get Alex's opinion on a couple of things. Number one, Mikey Garcia's performance last week, and I know we never really got a chance to talk about it. What did you think?
I think he looks great. I mean, he continues to dominate. He's, one of the best fighters in the world. I, don't know really what else to say. I mean, I look forward to seeing him, maybe fight the winner of Linares versus Lomachenko, perhaps. I don't know. He's a guy that's really fun to watch. He's somebody who he's must-see TV, as they say. But, I think like a lot of these guys who are really talented, they get to a point where, they need a good dance partner. And right now, I think that he's in the point where he's sort of shopping for that. But, as long as he stays active, I look forward to seeing more of him.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I like that he challenges himself. and that's important to me. This whole Triple G fighting Canelo and Canelo with the steroids, I purposely don't want to know a lot about all these different steroids, because it has to be a pro. You're up on it more than me, but I think that this whole storyline of the tainted beef and everything because somebody got away with it is complete nonsense. It's clearly a money fight for both of the fighters, Triple G and Canelo Alvarez. It's a fight that we as fans want to see, et cetera, et cetera. I understand all the money that can be made, and even Larry Hazard said, hey, Billy C., the reason why they're going to let this happen is because of all the money that's going to be able to be made, which, we all agree isn't the right way, but it's the way it is. My personal opinion is that Triple G should say, forget about you, Canelo, and go fight Billy Joe Saunders. He can make a lot of money over across the pond, and just send a message to all the other fighters. And more importantly, the sport of boxing needs to set an example. And I feel that there's nothing better than setting an example with a big name like Canelo Alvarez. I mean, the guy was caught cheating. Now it's the same thing that happened with Antonio Margarito. We assume that he was loading his gloves with every other fight after he got caught with Sugar Shane. And now it's easy to assume that Canelo's been cheating for a while. What's your thoughts on this whole situation, and what do you think should be done?
Wow, that's that's a tough package to sort of unpack, because in broad strokes I agree with you, but that means we don't get to see the rematch.
Yeah, boxing, but the safety of the fighter should supersede that.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But I think that's we are sort of in this difficult catch-22 with the PEDs. If Canelo is cheating, which I strongly believe he is, I don't believe for a second that a top athlete would make an indiscretion like that. Everything if you're a top athlete, you're aware of everything you put in your body. At least you should be, and you know what they're going to be testing for. So if it was tainted meat that he accidentally ate, I just don't buy that, because you wouldn't expose yourself to that. These guys have to watch what cold medicine they take. So they are aware of the potential for contamination by that channel. So he's never going to eat tainted meat or put himself at risk. He's probably got a paid chef. And like Sal was saying earlier, or one of the emailers was saying, why don't they test some of the other guys in his camp who are eating from the same chef? Well, they don't want to do that because they'd come out clean, and it would be exposed that Canelo is using clenbuterol. That's my feeling. That said, I think that the thing that I love about boxing is that boxing is the sport that's most like life, and at least life here in the United States, it's corrupt. I think the fight will go on. I think Golovkin is the kind of athlete who, I think this kind of exposed, like you said, it's very likely he's been doing this for a while. He might have been doing it for the last fight. Golovkin doesn't care. Golovkin wants to get him in the ring again. And I don't blame him. I want to see the fight again. But you're right. I think the correct thing to do would be to cancel the fight. But I think that, that would be, in terms of money is what rules the day. And it would be, there's way too much money at stake for them to cancel the fight. And there's also sort of unfinished business in that, we got the drama last time. I think Golovkin is hoping to get in there and just make this thing an all or nothing type thing. He doesn't want this to go to the judges. I don't know. I think the fight will go on. I do believe that Canelo uses performance-enhancing drugs. I can't prove that, and it seems that none of us can. But the evidence sure leans that way, because I don't believe the tainted meat thing for a second. And I do think that the fight will go on, and I guess I'm kind of glad about that. But it does put us in a weird spot, because it's like, so we're all hypocrites then. We want the sport to be clean, but here's a chance to make an impact, by drawing a firm, red line. But I don't think you really can, because, think about it if it was the other way around. I'd be curious what Canelo and Golden Boy would do. If Golovkin had tested positive for something, would they walk away?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think they would, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I think they would. Because they are selling the boxing fan that Canelo is the face of boxing. Canelo,
right.
Since the retirement of Floyd Mayweather, Canelo now has replaced Floyd Mayweather as the #1 guy. He's the big draw. He's the pay-per-view guy, blah, blah, blah. That's what they try. I'm not suggesting that he's as big as Floyd in terms of drawing power, et cetera, but that's what they're trying to sell us. So if Triple G tested positive, I strongly believe that they would have ran with that. Oh, he's a cheater, he's this, we're not fighting him. And they wouldn't have lost anything on that. And then that
they would have just taken their ball.
That's
and
it.
home.
They would have said, see, he has to cheat to fight us and all of this stuff. The same things that Triple G can do. The part that puzzles me is that Triple G is always, oh, he can't draw. Oh, he can't do this. This is what everyone says. But the truth of the matter is he does draw. And the truth of the matter is he fills stadiums, both, in the arenas and on, cable network views and pay-per-views, etc. He does, and it's time for him to say, hey, I've made all of the concessions to Canelo in the first fight and even for the second fight. And the truth of the matter is I don't need him at this point. He could catapult and he could use this platform as the exact reason why he can bargain and position himself to make just as much money in England to fight Billy Joe Saunders and at the same time help the sport of boxing. There's nothing more decisive than when you have a big name in a sport, whether it be boxing, football, baseball, whatever, that gets busted and that the league or powers that be come down on that person just the same as they would you or I. And it's the same thing. Why should people get super pet? It bothers the hell out of me, when you see somebody that gets a ticket, let's say, because they didn't pay for a lawyer, and the guy that's driving right next to them, because they're driving together, he pays for a lawyer and he gets off the ticket. Well, it became the money issue, right? He paid for the lawyer, you didn't, you get the ticket. That's not right. And I just think that, we're all crying about, oh, boxing needs to be safe, it needs to be this, oh, the doctor, oh, let's blame the commission, oh, let's blame the, everybody wants to point the finger, like Sal and I were talking the other day. The team is, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this, we trained hard, we did this, the fighter loses, he didn't do that, he didn't do this. Nobody's accountable for what their own actions are. And I think that this would have been a perfect opportunity, and nobody could cry foul because Canelo was busted. And I'm sorry, but I don't believe that unless you're eating so much of the meat. I just find it so hard that the test comes up. I think that Eric Morales used it as an excuse, and they figure we'll use it too. Mitch made a great point in that email you referred to. American beef has something else in it. How come American fighters aren't testing positive for that? Listen, it's a scam, and the fact that people are willing to let it go just because it's Canelo and just because, like even you just said, Alex, because we all want to see the rematch, that doesn't make it right, brother.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think that's where, we have the problem here is that doing the right thing is not the thing that is not the popular thing. The popular thing here would be to let the fight go on. But I think this is a good question for Sal because, his own experience, I'm sure he saw things like this. And this is the part we don't want to know. And you brought up Eric Morales, another guy who was notorious of having difficulty making weight. Clenbuterol is a fat burner and a bronchodilator. They're not taking it by accident in their carne asada. They're taking it for a reason. And that's the thing that I don't think we, as devotees of this sport, I don't think we really want to know how many guys are cheating. taking that little edge. And I mean, I would wonder, what was your experience, Sal, when you were fighting? Did you I'm sure you must have, without naming any names if you don't want to, but you must have had this experience where there's guys where everybody like, oh yeah, we know what he's doing. It had to be. It's like a well-known secret.
Well, it's under the table kind of stuff, and you have certain players out there that you do hear and you do, I guess, suspect, and there's some things that I do know for a fact, and that I will keep my mouth shut about. But there were things that did come across my table too, and I just turned it away and said, no, that's not me. I did everything. Like I said, I'll plug the book every day. Eat to Win by Dr. Robert Haas. He gave me anything everything I needed.
Cha-ching! There's another.
Let me tell you, that was my training manual. Hit the chapters he had. Eat to Win. That was changing the whole face of the get away from the raw steak before the fight or the meats and all that, and you got to load up on complex carbohydrates. And the ratio, if I can remember, was a 70% diet of complex carbohydrates, 20% protein, and 10% fat. And I cooked all my meals. I did everything down to the outlay. And he has a whole chapter on ergogenic aids that you could get in the drugstore. Certain amino acids, certain things that help. He also had a chapter on, utilizing caffeine. And I told you this in the past on this show. You know what? You have glycogen in your liver. That'll give you the first 20 minutes of that explosive speed or power. And then after that, it depletes, and you have to access fat cells or fat to give you the energy and go on. Well, what caffeine would do before a fight, it would make it turbocharge where you would have a longer sustained level of energy by mixing the fat and the glycogen together to give you elongated endurance. And that was, those are things I believed in, and I was very happy with that. But I do know that there was still drugs, and there was many unsuspecting fighters. I do know trainers that would give their shots of B12. I said this last week, and the unsuspecting fighter would receive a shot of B12 in the butt from a trainer, and guess what? Not all the time was that B12. It was decadoroblin, and it was this and that, but these were bigger guys that could not that didn't have to carve themselves down to be a lightweight. So it would be something that they could utilize, but sometimes the fighter was unsuspecting or not noticing. They thought it was just a B12 shot, when the truth of the matter is it was an anabolic steroid.
Wow.
Yeah, well, but at least the powers that be weren't onto it as much as they are now.
No.
So now what's happening is you have people that are actually hired to help beat the system. So
Absolutely.
that they don't,
it's unbelievable.
Well, they hire the guy to make sure that you can beat the system and still cheat. So the only way you're never going to clean it. You're always going to find somebody that's going to find a way to cheat, and especially with performance-enhancing drugs, the way they are now. Well, we call them designer, because somebody can whip up a formula that's not on the ban list. So all of a sudden, but that's not on the ban list, so that means it's legal. So I mean, as a matter of fact, that's what happened to Lucas Brown. He ended up testing positive for a substance that was added to the ban list, and he had already been taking it. So the truth of the matter is if you really want it to be clean, it could be policed. It's almost like they really don't. They want to say that they want it clean, but they let it go. And the truth of the matter is at this stage of the game, screw it. Let them all take whatever the hell they want. If that's what they want, if a guy, you look at some of these guys, and the pride factor. See, that's what bothers me about boxing. The pride factor used to be, existed. And I would think that a person that in any facet of life, if you're proud of what you do, and you can look in the mirror and say you gave it your all, and you didn't even get a participation trophy, and the thing is I did it the right way, etc., that's rewarding for yourself. I don't understand how a fighter who could win a fight, who knows he cheated, and wins the fight, how that fighter can look in the mirror and not be pissed off at himself, even if his bank account is, on vacation. I mean, I don't know. Pride has to come into it at some point.
Yes, I think so. But I think what happens is these guys, I mean, think about it in a business sense. If you're somebody who works hard in business and you do everything by the book, but there's like one or two things that you do outside of the box that everybody does. They're little shortcuts you take. Do you think of your success in business as less than, or are you able to sort of lie to yourself and gloss over the fact that, yeah, I did a few things that were a little outside the box? I think these guys, and as we've talked about many times, you talk about it all the time, Billy C., these guys have yes men around them. So it's very easy to be convinced that everything you do is on the up and up, even if it's not. So I do think that, I think that's a factor. But I can remember just when I was starting out, me and my brother first learning boxing at the New Haven Boys Club. I remember talking to the trainer there, and he was saying that one of the things we would do, because my nose used to bleed a lot when I would spar. So one of the things that they said we would do is right before, about an hour before, we'd use a little Afrin nasal spray to constrict the blood vessels. Well, that's kind of cheating. I don't think you can do that anymore. I think now there might be stuff in Afrin that they test for. But, would that be cheating? Yeah. Because, it makes my nose less likely to bleed. But, here was a trainer recommending it to a kid. So, I don't know. I think that it's unfortunate, and it's not something people probably like to think about, that some of their heroes take these shortcuts. Why use the word shortcuts? They're cheating. But I think, unfortunately, a lot of people do. And, it's tough because, and I think that this is one of the reasons why I like boxing is we don't have an organization like the NBA or the NFL or the Major League Baseball saying everybody in our sport is a role model, and if their conduct is unbecoming, we're going to boot them out or something. Boxing is, granted, it's a sewer a lot of times, but people are allowed to be people. And when they are, you get what you get with people. Some people cheat. So, I don't know. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, the right thing to do is to cancel the fight. But I don't see that happening.
No, it's not going to happen. And they're not even asking for it to happen.
I think the person who's probably the most okay with it is Golovkin. Yeah. He doesn't care. He just wants to
do his job.
Yeah, but like I said yesterday, guys, the thing that bothers me is now all of a sudden there's an excuse. Hey, I didn't win tonight. That's because Canelo was cheating. He was on PEDs, and I didn't want to hear that. But anyway, I just think
that's a tough one though, because I can't help but think, I don't know. I mean, I was at two fights, and I've said this before. I was at two fights where later the guy who won the fight was caught with performance-enhancing drugs. One was the James Toney win over John Ruiz. The other was the Shane Mosley rematch over Oscar De La Hoya. The Mosley rematch was very close. A lot of people thought De La Hoya deserved that win. He was later found to be in Balco's company and on something during that fight. The other one was when James Toney beat Ruiz. He beat him soundly. And, was it the drugs that did it, or did the drugs make him just look a little less chubby? So I don't know. I mean, can you point to the drugs as changing their performance? I think that's the harder point. It's not like baseball, where there seems to be more of a correlation, where in the course of one season, you see a guy who used to have a neck, now has no neck, and he's hitting every ball as a home run. Boxing, it doesn't seem quite the same like that. I mean, other than like an Evander Holyfield who goes from a cruiserweight to a cut, chiseled heavyweight where you say, look, it looks like something happened. I don't think you can point to, yes, this is a result of drugs.
Well, I tell you what, just look at Barry Bonds. If you look at early shots of Barry Bonds, a skinny little kid, and then all of a sudden he looks like the Crusher from Bugs Bunny, you know. But anyway, Alex, I appreciate you coming on, my man. The bottom line for this issue is I don't care who it is. If you want to make a statement in the sport about performance-enhancing drug use, Canelo should be that guy that they set an example of. But unfortunately, you're right, and so was Larry, and so is Sal, and so is everyone that's saying it. It's about the money. It's about the money that all the people involved, and that includes Triple G and his team, Canelo, the commissions, the promoters, the people selling hot dogs and T-shirts, everybody involved, all the hotels in Vegas, would lose a lot of money if the fight gets canceled. And it's just sad that, you know, we who cry for cleanness in our sport are so willing to sweep this under the rug in the name of money. And that's what it boils down to. I don't care how you slice it. That's what it boils down to. So in any event, hey, Alex, thanks for taking the time to come on as quickly as you did. We appreciate it.
Hey,
bro.
my pleasure.
All right, man. Guys. Take it easy.
Have a great weekend.
Take care, Alex.
You know, that's the truth, though, Sal. You know, money's driving this bus. You know, it's a shame. You know, when you think about it.
It always has been the root. Has done a lot, and you know, hey, maybe they should come out with a non-drug league and a drug belt. You know, let the ones that are going to fail the test or whatever compete in their own little segment of boxing, and then let the ones that are clean have their own version of boxing. You'd see the fans' interest, I bet, in the clean belts.
No doubt. Hey, on this day, March 16th, in boxing history in 1980, Alan Minter wins a 15-round decision over Vito Antuofermo to win the world middleweight title. It took place in Las Vegas. Remember, Alan Minter was the guy that Marvelous Marvin Hagler beat to win the title.
That's
on this day,
right.
On this day in 1996, Keith Holmes knocks out Quincy Taylor in the 9th round to win the WBC World Middleweight title. That took place in Vegas. On this day in 1960, one of the greatest fighters of all time, Flash Elordi, knocks out Harold Gomes in the 7th round to win the Junior Lightweight title. That took place in the Philippines. On this day in 1996, Michael Carbajal wins a 12-round decision over Melchior Cobb Castro to regain the vacant IBF World Junior Flyweight title, and that took place in Vegas. And on this day, March 16th, in 1996, Mike Tyson knocks out Frank Bruno in the 3rd round to regain the WBC World Heavyweight title, and that took place in Las Vegas. Of course, this was after he served his time on this day, March 16th in 1996. Hey, boys and girls, we got a couple of fights this weekend. Enjoy them. Sal and I will be back on Monday to talk about them. Listen, it's St. Patty's Day tomorrow. We were having some fun with all you Irish guys looking for another reason to drink. And, hey, thank God St. Patty's Day falls on a Saturday because the Irish can start drinking tonight, right? Well, you know what? I'm going to wear some green and maybe I'll go have a few scotches. But all kidding aside, have a great time on St. Patty's Day. But be safe, please. If you've had too much to drink, have somebody else drive, call a cab, do something, and try and drink regular beer. Stay away from that green beer. And if Sal's going to be making some green pizza down at Sal's in St. Simon's, try it. It's only a little dye. Hey, it's a little dye. And he promises that he does not have any clarimbutol in his pizza. So you don't have to worry about getting any performance-enhancing drugs from eating pizza or any other Italian dish offered at Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian restaurant.
Right. Complex carbohydrates, baby.
That's it. But anyway, all kidding aside, guys, make sure you tune in Monday morning, same bad time, same bad channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.